My dad's name is Howard Pow.
And he's the eldest of three, so he has two younger brothers as well, and they were all in Ireland. And one of my uncles, my uncle Spencer, he had a takeaway. It was difficult for him to source ingredients, so there was nobody in Ireland actually that they could get the supply easily from. So the three brothers were having a discussion, and they were like, there seems to be a niche in the market, there's a gap in the market. So they decided that they would set up the Asian market and the store to supply initially the restaurants, and then the basic essentials that you would need to cook with, like soy sauce or the rice. If they set up in England, I think the competition would be higher. So they were like, okay, well, in Ireland it's still new territory. I guess it comes with its challenges, I guess, because it's so new. It wasn't as if there were a lot of restaurants or a lot of people interested in Asian food or a very big Asian community compared to the UK. So they were like, okay, well, the idea came about, and so they decided to come over and set it up. And so I think it's the idea, like, you set something up and then things will start to build from there, When the store started, the three brothers were running it. And then after a few years, the two brothers decided to move to Belfast and set up another branch there. And then it was just, I guess, my mum and dad and me. So I literally grew up in the store, because at that time my mum worked as a cashier, and then I had a little there was a shelf basically underneath the cashier, and that was where my little bed was. I think I was and I had a little curtain, and I would pop out now and again and say hi to the customers. But it was basically my playground. I would be outside the store drawing hopscotch or playing in cardboard boxes and surprising the customers who came along. But yeah, I think I grew up in the business, kind of unaware of it, I guess. I was always constantly with my parents working in the business, but I was surrounded by it. My parents, they were very encouraging for me to go off and pursue my own career path, to be honest. And I studied computers, so it wasn't, I studied retail, and I was like, okay, graduate and then come and work in the family business. And so my whole plan was to go off and get work experience, away from the family business. So I basically worked in Hong Kong for many years, and yes, I really enjoyed it. But the turning point was when my parents, they were visiting me in Hong Kong, and they invited me on a trip to visit some suppliers, and it really opened my eyes again. It kind of refreshed my memory to kind of go, oh yeah, this is mum and dad's business, and we're meeting their suppliers. And initially I was thinking, oh yeah, I could set up a business, and run my own business. But I was like, oh, why don't I go back home and learn from my parents how to run a business, and then in future, if there's an area that I'm really interested in, I can set up a business then. But it was really interesting when I got back and started working with my parents. I actually really enjoyed it. When I came back, it was really second nature to me, I want to say, because it was like mum and dad had been grooming me for it, but I didn't know. So when I arrived back, I was like, oh yeah, I know that brand. How do I know the brand? It's like I grew up with that brand. So I had a keen passion for everything. I was like, yeah, I'm interested to find out where they come from. How do I get more of these? How do I expand the range? It's just out of interest that it's brought me to where I am now, I guess. Dad knows that I'm obviously more Irish than I am probably Chinese. I look Asian, but I grew up here, and so he actually really encouraged me to explore the store in a way that would make it appealing to local, because I would know what that would be like. So then I decided, okay, well, that's a good plan. First of all, we need to change the look of the store, upgrade it. And the fear with that is that Dad didn't hold my hand and go, right, I want you to change this part or that part. He basically left and went to Hong Kong and went on his buying trip and left me with it, which is a good idea because then I could explore and think and make my own decisions with it, you know. The vision was to create something old style, which is the wood that you see within the store. I wanted it to be kind of remind you of China, which would be the lanterns. And when you came into the store, that it was welcoming, that it was a piece of Asia in Ireland, like a little hidden gem. So I explained what I wanted, and then I worked with like a group of really great people to kind of realize my dream, basically. I'm very close with both mom and dad, you know, so we kind of work in different areas. So like I usually look after the development and growth, and then mom is kind of looking after the operations side, so she keeps the business running, and that's a lot of work as well. And then dad usually is the one who's traveling and then sourcing products and bringing new products to us, and so it kind of works as like a good team. So I'm kind of grateful that it has worked out that way, you know, and that they let me free reins to kind of do what I want in terms of the new projects. So one of them would be to set up the online store, you know, which I did like 4 or 5 years ago. And who knew that now COVID hits and nobody can go shopping, and this was a year ago, and then everything needs to be bought online, you know. So they've set such a good example of working hard, and I think it's in my nature to always be working. I really love the name of it as well, like Asia Market, that my parents came up with, because they didn't say, oh, this is the Chinese market, although they're from China, like, you know, they decided, oh, the Asia market. So it gives me a lot of scope. Another thing was when I was working in the store, I was working like on the shop floor as well. And from that, I actually learned a lot with customers coming in and asking me questions and saying, oh, where's this? And I'm like, oh, that's over here. But then how come this other Japanese product is in another aisle, you know? And so it really makes you focus on, I can make this shopping experience better. It's really from kind of experiencing and talking to more customers who they come into the store and they're like, what is this veg? How do you cook with it? What is it called? So I needed to step back a bit and go, that needs, you know, how to cook it, to kind of demystify it, which brings me on to say, like, I started to do tours of the store to kind of encourage them to maybe pick up ingredients that they wouldn't have used before. For me, it's nothing better for me to kind of be able to help them through that journey. When the store was first set up, we're not that many Asian people here. There were a few Chinese restaurants or takeaways, and that was the main kind of customer base that my parents would have focused on. The customers we have in now are like, oh, I've been to Thailand and I have this recipe, so I want to come in and get specific ingredients. We also have like a customer type where it reminds them of their home, so they're either students or either they've lived here for many years and they just want to get something of their local brand here. I think the secret of the success of Asia Market has been just always trying to work on focusing it to the changing customer base, and we're really lucky to have such an amazing and diverse group of customers, and I think that keeps me on my toes because I feel like it needs to keep on rolling in order for it to grow.
Years ago when we first started the business, my wife said to me, I give you 10 years, and here we are 40 years later. My daughter and my son-in-law are helping me to run the business, and I just hope that together we can continue to serve our customer and keep this business going as well as it can be. Yeah?
Excellent, very good.